So as food delivery drivers for DoorDash, Uber Eats, and GrubHub, we are at the mercy of these platforms when we accept an order and go to a restaurant. The reason that I say this is because sometimes we go to restaurants and when we get to that restaurant, although the app says that the order should be ready at a specific time, we get there and the restaurant tells us either A, they haven't got the order prepared yet, it's still going to be a long time, or maybe they just got the order and they haven't even started working on it yet. Sometimes we go there and the restaurant tells us that they did not actually receive the restaurant. I want to talk to you about a situation that I had a little while ago and kind of go over what happens when you get to a restaurant and they tell you one of these three things when you go to pick up that order. My name is John McFall and I want to welcome you to the McFallRI channel where I teach you how to make $25 to $30 an hour doing food delivery, and I also teach you how to make online income. Today I want to talk to you about a situation that I had. It's been about a month ago since I actually had it, and I came upon the post when I was going through my channel a couple of days ago, and I thought I'd bring it up again and talk to you guys about it because I went to this Buffalo Wild Wings restaurant to pick up an order, and when I got to the restaurant, the restaurant told me that it was going to take about 45 minutes to an hour to get me the order that I was there to pick up because they were just that busy. Now, I'm going to tell you that I was working here in Auburn, Indiana, which is a very small marketplace, a population of about 15,000 people. DoorDash is the only app there. Uber Eats is there, but I very rarely get orders on Uber Eats. Sometimes I'll go a whole shift without getting an order. And when I go to this marketplace, there are times when it is very, very slow, so there's not a whole lot coming in. So this really affects people that cannot run the other apps in a marketplace. Let's say they have only one or two, and they can't run multiple apps like you can in bigger marketplaces. When I'm here in Fort Wayne, I don't have this issue because I have two other apps that I can tap into to get me the orders that I'm wanting to get. But when I'm in Auburn, there are times when it's really slow, there's not a whole lot of orders coming in, and I go to pick up an order and the order is not going to be ready for a very long time. The first thing I want to say is that the apps are not all created equal. And what I mean by this is when you run into an issue like one of these at a restaurant, the apps treat this situation completely differently depending on which one you are using. For instance, if I go to a restaurant and I run into this situation and it's an Uber Eats order, I actually call Uber Eats support and say, look, this order isn't going to be ready for 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm not willing to sit here waiting on it. And most of the time when I do this, Uber Eats will say, I'm sorry about the inconvenience. Let me pay you $3 or $4 because you actually drove to the restaurant. We'll take this order back because it's going to take so long. We're not going to penalize you for it, and you can get on your way so you can start grabbing other orders so you can keep making money. GrubHub, they don't care. If you go to a restaurant and this situation happens, if you call support, they're going to tell you either you can give the order back or you can sit there and wait, and they're not going to compensate you anymore. The same thing is true with DoorDash. If you go to a restaurant in this situation, they expect that you are going to sit there and not get compensated anymore, or you are going to give that order back to the platform and they are going to penalize you for giving that order back on your completion rating. So with DoorDash and with GrubHub, if you run into this situation, the platforms don't care and the platforms are not going to do anything to help you. And if you don't want to sit there and wait, they're actually going to penalize you for giving those orders back. So if you run into this situation when you're in your marketplace and you go to a restaurant and they tell you that it's going to be a very long time before the order is complete, you literally have one of two options on GrubHub and DoorDash. You can either sit there and wait for that order to be complete, and you can do that without getting any more compensation, or you can give that order back and it's going to penalize you on your completion rating. And I don't believe that this is actually fair to us food delivery drivers. And every time I run into this situation, I don't hesitate to get onto the phone and talk to support. And when they tell me this is the case, I tell them specifically that this is not fair to us food delivery drivers. When we get into this situation, it is not our fault that the apps didn't know what the time the restaurant is going to have the order ready. It is not our fault that the restaurant is so busy that they can't complete the orders on time. I understand this happens when you go to restaurants and they're really busy. It's going to take them longer to get the orders done. It's just common sense. However, my biggest hang up is the fact that the food delivery platforms, GrubHub and DoorDash, will penalize you if you run into this situation, because either you lose money for sitting there, or you get dinged on your completion rating when you are in this situation if you decide to get the order back. My point in the video is that the food delivery platforms are not created equal when it comes to going to restaurants and picking up orders for these platforms. Uber Eats, I really appreciate the fact that they will take care of a driver if they run into this situation, for compensating them for making the effort and actually not having it go against their completion rating. DoorDash and GrubHub, shame on you for not taking care of your drivers when we're out here doing the work that you are asking us to do. So if you run into this situation, you can either sit there and wait for the order to be complete, or you can go back and give that order back and you can take a hit on your completion rating. I've done a number of videos on what you should do when you get to a restaurant and the order is not complete. And the one thing that I can tell you in my marketplace in Fort Wayne that I do, because it's a bigger marketplace, if you run into this situation in a bigger marketplace, you actually have a third option. You don't have to give the order back, and you don't have to take a ding on your completion rating. And if you go to a restaurant and run into this situation, a lot of times when we pick these orders, we pick them because they're great dollars to time and they're great dollars to mile and they're great averages per order. So we actually are picking a good order to pick up, and when we get to the restaurant, we just run into a situation where it's not going to be ready. So what can you do if you run into this situation in a bigger marketplace? This is why I tell you guys to multi-app, because when I'm in Fort Wayne and I run into this situation, if I have an order, let's say on DoorDash, and the restaurant tells me it's not going to be ready for a long time, I turn on GrubHub or Uber Eats and take a look and see what they're sending me, and I will go grab orders on those two apps when I am waiting for the order for DoorDash. The same thing applies with GrubHub or Uber Eats. No matter what platform I'm on, if I am in my marketplace in Fort Wayne, I will turn on the other apps and I'll go work other orders from quick restaurants and pick up those orders and deliver them while I'm waiting on the order to be complete that's taking a long time. So those are your three options when you're in a bigger marketplace, and unfortunately when you're in a smaller marketplace that doesn't have all of the apps, you're just stuck. So I hope you got a lot out of today's video. I want to remind you, I have some great tools down here in my description. One I want to talk to you about is my metric spreadsheet. If you have not kept track of your numbers and you do not know where you are right now, you really are doing a disservice to yourself. Keeping track of your numbers will show you your average dollar per hour, dollar per mile, and let you know where you are. I'm going to throw a quick copy up here on the screen so you guys can check it out. If you look at the left-hand side, you'll see I always put my start time and my end time. This gives me the total time that I've worked. I also put in the miles, and then if you look to the right, you'll see for each individual app, I put the dollars that I've made, the time that I worked, along with the number of deliveries. Head to the bottom and you'll see it calculates out your average dollar per hour, dollar per mile, along with your average per delivery. If you want to see how well you're doing so you know where you need to improve, the only way you can do it is to keep track of your numbers. Go down into my description, go grab this free download for yourself. I'd also like to ask you to like this video and to subscribe to my channel. Finally, I want to leave you with, I hope that you are out there getting the money that you and your family deserve. And with that, I want to say thanks.